scenario is the most likely scenario for the state. However, all three scenarios predict substantial reductions in GRF revenues. So on the chart that's before you, the top line, that navy blue line, is the recession scenario from the last time we stood before you. And you can see there by the shape of the curve, we were predicting a relatively short recession and then a bounce back. At this point in time, the next scenario that I just described to you is the yellow line, scenario A, and that line is not what we think is most likely. We actually believe we should be planning for something somewhat worse.
They can't see it, but this is the yellow line.
Right there.
And then the turquoise line, the scenario B is here.
Right there. And below those lines, the towers that we've placed under those lines are our estimates of GRF revenue for each of those, for that scenario. I'm sorry, for just scenario B, which is the most likely one. Okay? So this gives you a sense of the magnitude of the issue we are struggling with. Let's look at GRF revenues historically. I've told you this is a historic level of loss in GRF revenues. What do I mean by that? This chart, which is slide 16, shows you GRF revenues from fiscal year 05 through what we are projecting in fiscal year 11. So you see actual numbers for years 2005 through 2008. We see an estimate taking us down to $18 billion in fiscal year 09, $17 billion in fiscal year 10, and $17 billion again in fiscal year 11. The bottom line here is until fiscal year 2008, there was no time in the past 50 years when GRF tax revenues declined for 2 years in a row. Right now, we are managing 5 years of GRF declines. This is indeed historic. There's some other history we are making. Since this is only the personal income tax on this chart, since 1972, there has never been a 2-year decline in collections from the personal income tax. 1972 is the year the income tax was enacted. Today, we are managing a 3-year decline of $1.379 billion in the personal income tax. Now let's look at sales and use tax. Sales tax revenues we are estimating will be $491 million lower in fiscal year 10 than they were in fiscal year 2008. This is the first 2-year sales tax decline since 1950. These are indeed historic measures. Lastly, let's look at where we are today compared to where we were in fiscal year 2008, the first year of enactment of House Bill 119. This chart shows you, and each bar compares the revenues that year to 2008. And so what you can see on this chart is in 2009, our projected revenues, by the time we close out this year, will be $1.376 billion less than what we brought in fiscal year 2008. In fiscal year 2010, we will be bringing in $2.367 billion less than what we brought in 2008. And in fiscal year 2011, we will be bringing in $2.398 billion less than we brought in 2008.
Barry, they may not be able to read